Hi, and welcome to Melodies of Life. I'm your host, Anna Enka. Today's episode, I will explain how to overcome stress by rewiring your thinking patterns about it. According to American Psychology Association, Stress in America survey conducted in 2021 showed that nearly 80% of American adults reported experiencing symptoms of stress as body aches, fatigue, or feelings of anger and being irritated. It's important to understand that stress is a feedback mechanism and not something negative that should be avoided at all costs. How to deal with stress? Stress is simply the inability to adapt to a changing environment. Stress can be wellness promoting in the sense that it provides feedback on the direction in which you are headed in case you need to readjust. In that way, it can be perceived as being on the way and not in the way. People who are able to adapt and who have resilience don't perceive the distress that most people do. In fact, most of the distress comes from either fearing the loss of something you seek or fearing the gain of something that you're trying to avoid. Let's look at business as an example. Anytime you perceive the loss of what you want, clients, income, business, it's going to be distressful. Anytime you fear the gain of what you want, such as unexpected bills, it's going to be distressful. The same goes for relationship. The fear of losing a loved one or the fear of someone you don't like joining your social network. The same goes for your health. The fear of losing your strength or fitness or even the fear of gaining symptoms that you do not want. So in any of your area, the perception of loss of what you seek and the perception of gain of what you don't want is distressful. Many people experience feeling of stress during the pandemic because it's not what they had expected or planned for 2020. Would you agree? Let's say that you are positive and it stopped you from doing the things that you love and wanted to do, right? You are now then comparing your present moment with a fantasy of what you wanted this year to look like. Anytime you compare your current reality to a fantasy, you are likely to feel depressed, distressed, and maybe anger because you have unrealistic expectations of yourself or the world around you. But again, the distress you feel is feedback to let you know what you're perceiving and expecting is delusional. Whatever is going on around you has everything to do with how you perceive it. It's not what happens to you on the outside. It's how you perceive it on the inside of your mind. Only you have control of your perception, decisions, and action. That is why it's not an external thing. Once you take whatever has happened and see it as on the way instead of in the way, then the world is in your command. Take it. It's never the stress in our life that's making us ill, dysfunctional, or lead to killing us before our time. Instead, it is our inability to adapt to the stress in our lives that leads to distress, disease, and exhaustion. In the pursuit to living an optimal life, it is necessary to get an accurate baseline to determine how life stresses, physical, mental, and emotional, have influenced your physiology, your present state of health and well-being beyond the surface of how you look or how you feel. Today's society's view is stress makes you sick. It's part of modern life, and there's not much you can realistically do about it, right? We hear it, we see it everywhere. Not true. Many scientists emphasize that chronic stress is a major cause of illness. The stress response is an example of the body-mind connection. When the mind perceives danger, it triggers a cascade of bodily activities such as cortisol production in the adrenal glands. This provides the extra juice needed to deal with the danger. In the beginning, it was a mechanism to make sure we were safe from physical dangers such as predators in our environment. The stress resolved itself when the wolf either ate you or gave up the chase. Would you agree? The stresses of modern life are different. They don't chase you and either eat or abandon you. They continue to eat at you as your mind worries about what's going on in the world. how your children will survive 30 years from now, and what's happening to your job in the falling economy. This is known as chronic stress, right? So how much stress have you experienced in the last year? Would you be honest? I would say but something you don't want to talk about. But you know it because stress, it makes your heart pound, you breathe in quickly, and your forehead starts to sweat. But while stress has been made into a public health enemy, new research suggests that stress may only be bad for you if you believe to be the cause, right? Comes back to your mind. Do you believe it or you don't believe it? During stress, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessel constrict. That's why chronic stress is related to cardiovascular disease. When we view stress responses as helpful, your blood vessels stay relaxed, just like in the moment of joy and courage. How you think in a stressful situation matters. Believing the body is helping you to rise to this challenge. Your body will believe you and your stress response will become healthier. That is a choice you have to make. Bringing these findings into everyday life. It's not easy, but with practice, you can do it. You can change your body's response to stress from change how you think about it. And now you're going to ask me, in the name of Jesus Christ, how do I do that? Okay, by reframing your thinking, instead of, oh my God, my heart is pounding, that means I'm not coping well. That's how you perceive it, right? This is my body helping me rise to a challenge. Very different thinking, right? Breathing faster is not a problem. It's getting more oxygen into my brain. View it as helpful. Do you see the different way of thinking? But that is a choice only you can make. If you're doing this is a powerful shift. When you choose to regard your body's stress response as helpful, you create the biology of courage, and that is a practice you need to do each time you feel the stress. We can't eliminate stress from modern life, but we can make it easier. But we can choose how we think and how we act. We can choose to think differently, and that will create the biology of courage, right? This allows us to develop stress resilience. We experience ourselves as able to cope, to handle things, to deal with stressful situation, and move on. And I have a couple of examples and tips that you can begin to do the following. Disarm negative thoughts and memories. Begin to address your fears by identifying the source of stressors that you have in your life. And you can put your fears into two categories: fear of loss and fear of gaining something that you don't want. When you recognize that all distress falls into one of these two categories, you will have more control over your positive or negative association with each event, thought, or memory. Ask yourself whatever your stressors are helping you fulfill yourself. This will allow you to look beyond your consciousness and unpack the blessings from your trauma. Please remember, no matter what happens in your life, there is an upside too. You just must take the time to ask whatever you think is challenging to you. What is the other side of it? What's the upside to it? How is it helping you to fulfill your mission in life? If you can honestly answer that and quit coming up with excuses why you can, instead answer that question and dig deep, you will start training your mind to see no matter what happens, is on the way and not in the way. This is being resilient and empowered. Running our story will only make you a victim and disempowered. Please don't do that. Make stress your friend by changing your habits of thinking about it. That is something we all can do starting today. Look for the viewpoint that offers possibility and empowerment in any situation. You owe that to yourself. Asking for a hug and hugging someone will release the oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, like I call it. It will protect your cardiovascular system because it's a natural anti-inflammatory, and it will keep your blood vessels relaxed during stress. So don't feel ashamed. Ask for that hug, okay? Our hearts have receptors for oxytocin, and it helps our heart cells to renew, regenerate, and heal from any stress. It strengthens our heart and makes recovery from stress so much faster. Stress gives you access to your heart, believe it or not, letting you know to trust yourself, that you can handle life challenges as they come. Remember, you don't need to face them alone. Many people ask me this question. Making lifestyle choices between a stressful job and a non-stressful job, does it really matter what we choose? And I always say, chasing meaning is better for your health than trying to avoid discomfort. And I think that is the best way of making decisions. Go after what creates meaning in your life and trust yourself to handle the stress that will follow. If you're finding yourself in a rut and you cannot seem to get your mindset in the right space, for you to focus on bigger things like your family, friends, or business, feel free to send me a message. I am more than ready to talk to you about any topic you want to discuss. I will go through in depth with you any challenges you're facing, and I will present you with a roadmap to help you solve it. You can visit my website, Anna Enka Wellness. Use my code PODCAST88 and you will get your first session for $100. If you have any questions while listening, please subscribe and leave your comments, and you will receive answers to your specific questions. Please hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you love it, please give me a review and share it. This will allow me to impact people worldwide. Thank you for listening. Love always, Anna.